And we're back with Activated Mornings. You're listening to Ari and Christal. And, well, first of all, interactive program. Call by dialing 457-9997. WhatsApp 457-9994. We're live on YouTube and Facebook.
At WEFM 99 SVG.
At WEFM 99 SVG.
So good morning and welcome again. All right.
Now, this article piqued my interest a lot, which is Chief Man beats fourth murder charge. So I'm reading from IWN. New Montrose man who was tried in connection with August 2nd, 2020 murder of a fellow villager was on Tuesday acquitted when the jury returned a not guilty verdict. However, unlike the three other occasions when he was freed of murder, Devon Chiefman Charles, 38, did not walk out of the court a free man. While Charles was acquitted of murder, the jury found him guilty of a related gun possession charge. Charles was found not guilty of the charge that on August 2nd at Block 2000, Old Montrose, he murdered Cameron Hanaway, 28, aka Warlord, aka Dog Man. The jury, however, returned a guilty verdict on the charge that Charles had a firearm in his possession with intent to commit an offense to it. Murder. The Crown was represented by Tamika Mackenzie da Silva and Assistant Director of Public Prosecution and Crown Counsel Roseanne Richardson, as well as Maria Jackson Richards. Dwayne Daniel represented Charles. So according to IWN, the jury deliberated for 2 hours and 51 minutes, that's exact, before returning their verdicts, which resulted in some informal debates among the lawyers after the adjournment of the court sitting. The question that the lawyers sought to reconcile was how could a person be found not guilty of a murder committed by use of firearm but guilty of possession of said firearm with intent to commit the same murder that the jury found the person not guilty of committing. Justice Brian Cuttle, who presided, had addressed this question with defense counsel after the jury had retired to consider its verdict. The judge told the lawyer that it was very possible for the jury to acquit someone. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read. For the jury to acquit on the murder charge and convict on the firearm possession charge. He noted that a not guilty verdict does not mean that someone did not commit an offense, but that the prosecution had failed to prove its case. No firearm was recovered in connection with Hanaway's death, and Charles does not have a license to hold a firearm or ammunition. As regards sentencing, Daniel said that he would not be requiring a social inquiry report. The sentencing hearing has been set for October 19th. So we have a bit of history.
Yeah. You want to leave the history for last?
Sure.
All right. So the question is, how did he get to number 4? That's what you're trying to figure out. Why was he found not guilty and then guilty of a firearm charge?
That's the main question I have this morning. Because there's 3 elements to possession. It's knowledge, ownership, and control. But if no firearm was discovered on the scene, how did this charge stand? I'm very curious as to what the facts are of this case, because there are rumors that he was attacked and he defended himself. But if he defended himself and jury decided that he is not guilty of murder, where is the firearm and how does this charge hold in court? And this is somebody who's not a stranger to the legal system. This is his 4th murder charge.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we could go into his history now.
So he was first charged with murder in 2008. That's over 10 years now. This happening then.
20, 2008. Oh yeah.
Hey, who is your math teacher? Tell me
Maths
now.
and
Tell
no,
me
I'm not
now.
gonna say 2018.
He was among 7 men charged with murder in a connection with the death of Atiba Crimo Waldron, who was shot and killed at the petrol station in Pembroke. I sure remember that. That was big news. That was big news
What year
at
was
that
that?
time.
I don't remember that.
2000,
I don't.
2008. You're pretending to be young. All right.
Nah, no, please.
Charles and 3 of his co-accused were freed of the charge, and another died of a heart attack. In November 2012, Roland Gomes of Annesville was sentenced to 5 years in prison for manslaughter in connection to Waldron's death. Then, in November 2016, Charles was charged with murder in connection with the September 15, 2015 shooting death of Andre Judge Garraway Bowens, who died after being shot in the head and about the body. Charles was also charged in connection with the July 23rd, 2015 murder of Andre Chewit, 39, who was shot and killed outside his Upper Montrose home at around 8 p.m. Reports were that there were 2 assailants who fled the scene on foot after the police recovered spent shells from different calibers of firearm. In March 2020, in March 2017, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Colin Williams, discontinued murder charges against Charles in connection with the death of Bowens and Chewit. Charles had spent 8 months on remand.
So, how does a single individual get charged for 4 murders spanning over a period of 15 years? 2008 to now is 15, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not be convicted for a single one. Now, it's either that evidence is either a person is probably really good, or either good enough that evidence that is found is not substantial for whatever reason. The reasons why he was not charged for the other murders, we don't know.
Well,
But also either this is a joke.
So I have a story written by a very capable journalist, and in 2000 and what was this? 2017, a very capable journalist.
That sounds like you, so.
A very capable journalist. Well written story as well. His lawyer at the time, Grant Connell, said that these arrests only add to the growing number of unsolved crimes. He said maybe it's time they tap into some of the real experienced police officers that they have put out to pasture and remove some of the square pegs in round holes that are failing their duty to the public. Now, I interpret that to mean,
We don't have good investigators.
and that is the problem. So it's two sides of it. It's either they're going after the wrong people or they're picking up the right people without sufficient evidence.
But then if you don't have sufficient evidence, how does it get as far as the DPP?
And that's something that I always thought about as a court reporter. But then I have my own theory, which is the DPP's office sees so many cases that the office itself doesn't really go in depth in reading these charges, because even as a reporter, there were a number of charges that the prosecutor would say, this don't make sense. I can go through my court process with this for many reasons. A break in the chain of custody, lack of evidence, officer failing to show up to court, but this reached to the High Court. So my question is, how is it that you are found not guilty of murder Which it said using the same firearm.
But the judge in this case gave an explanation, right? Now, let me just recap. Justice Brian Cottle, who presided, had addressed this question with defense counsel after the jury had retired to consider this verdict. The judge told the lawyer that it is very possible for a jury to acquit on the murder charge and convict on the firearm possession charge. So just because you're found not guilty by law doesn't mean that you didn't commit a particular crime. That's why some folks in the general audience get upset by some verdicts. And some folks will get upset by the sentencing as well, because that's just how the system is set up. It's not necessarily who is guilty, literally, but who could provide a better case and whether or not there's sufficient evidence to prove a theory right or wrong.
And that's a dangerous problem in the justice system. So it's not about who
It's a
is
dangerous
guilty.
problem, but how else can you to regulate the system and make it as fair as possible?
It starts with good policing.
Boy.
In my opinion, like Grant said, you put in square pegs in wrong holes.
That's 2017.
And that's 2017.
You cannot say that there are square pegs in round holes in 2023.
Really? Because this is this fourth.
But this is how many other cases have people been acquitted of or found not guilty of in 2023?
I wonder
Not many.
How many cases has someone beat a murder charge more than 4 times? Historically, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
This is rather interesting.
It's very
rather interesting.
Interesting. It's confusing. There's a lot of questions to be asked.
Let me zoom in a little bit on his photograph. What? Deliberately, you would let me take a call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Sorry about that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your other host there. I want to ask him if he have ever heard of the saying, the police is the community and the community is the police. Because if he ever heard that, then let him chew on it and find out what it really means.
I've never heard that. Before he could explain, I've never heard that.
He gave you some homework to do. The police is the community and the community is police. Let me see if I could understand what he means by that. Maybe eyewitnesses? No pun intended here, because you're reading the story from eyewitness. But officially, you would have police officers, but you also have people from the community.
Maybe he's saying that police officers could only do so much without the community's assistance. I don't know.
Perhaps that too. Let's take another call. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Very interesting. And I thought Christal would have the answer right away. Come on, man, you let me down there with what the guy had to say. Police is the community is the police.
What does it mean?
All I think he's simply trying to convey is that you have to work with your community, and then again, if the community is not cooperative, how can you find out answers? Look,
this is what I was saying.
how long ago? 7 years ago. I don't know if Christal was born yet because he age factor coming in here. A guy was shot dead. A lawyer guy was shot dead in the heart of Kingston, right by the Heinz building there.
I remember that.
Up to now. Right, shot midday. Nobody see, nobody talk. You get the message? And I think that's what the guy was trying to convey there. Hey, how many criminals? Do you know how many criminals we are walking with in this country? When you have unsolved murders, And sometimes what is frightening, people in the society community know who killed them. Think about that. These things call. I'm listening to you, young guys, young people, how you all are understanding, and that's why you need to be on the ground. You need to talk to people, and that's one of the things that I was able to do. If I want to know, if I want to know what's going on, I know how to. I knew how to befriend people who I would not normally speak to under normal circumstances. But you have to know how to get among the people, the common folk, the man on the ground. Never mind how hostile they might be, they're cussing and carrying on. I was able one time in my life I saw this criminal who I knew, and this criminal used to admire me the way I used to carry myself. He told me all of that. And I saw him in a fucker, with a secondary school girl, right on back street there. And a crowd started together. You know what I did? Nobody tell me. I walk through because I saw him and this young schoolgirl I walked through. I tapped him on the shoulder. I said, "Come on, listen to me. You're my friend." You have to the individual have to know how to employ certain tactics or whatever to make a difference in a situation like that. Yeah, and I had the crowd dispersed because I was able to, he said to the crowd, if I didn't have respect for this guy, I would, but I respect this guy very much. He said that openly.
Mm-hmm.
I felt good.
Okay.
I didn't get nothing for that, but I felt good knowing that he was able to make a difference. And I will do that anytime, anywhere. Right? Mm-hmm.
All right.
I just share that anyhow. Thanks.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Now, people can know certain things on the ground, but are they willing to come forth with substantial evidence? That's one. And two, knowing somebody did something and you don't have the proof, it boils down to nothing. Because if you cannot use that information, it can't hold up in court. It cannot. And I've been looking at some of the comments underneath the post on social media, and quite a number of people are making some very wild comments. I'm going to leave it as wild. Let me take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good for the time, thanks.
All right. Good morning to Christal as well. Besides what you guys are expressing there, what I think we don't have home is forensic testing and a database that will enter. For instance, when you do forensic testing or you're in a crime scene and you get a fingerprint, you put it in a database. So if you have a suspect, when that person is picked up, you check their fingerprint and match it with the database and see if it matches the fingerprint that is collected at the crime scene. Stuff like that is very important. I mean, we live in a world today that is technology based and savvy, and so we should be able to do all these things to catch criminals. How are you gonna tell me a man killed 5, 6, 7, 10 times and
allegedly
get away with it? I mean, that is ridiculous. It's outrageous. So they need to have technologies. If you want to work with America's government or whoever to train detectives down there how to work, because I can tell you one thing in America. I cannot recall, I'm in this country 40 years, and I cannot recall once, for instance, that a policeman got killed and the perpetrator is not apprehended. Not once. The police would go all out to find this guy because he killed a police. So if and not only police, but if the person that this kill is significant to them, important to them, they are gonna find that killer. So if you have to invest in that in order for them to get we get proper detectives, good detectives that will find killers and other criminals, then do it so that we can at least we're gonna minimize crime somewhat. I'm glad to hear that they on the news this morning they mentioned about the cameras that are now in
Mm-hmm.
St. Vincent,
Mm-hmm.
and that is catching um, killers, criminals. Sorry. I hope they have enough. They would get more that would go throughout the country because St. Vincent is too much a beautiful place, nice place for people to sit down and look. When they look at St. Vincent or they wander vacation, they look at St. Vincent and say, well, I can't go here because it's full of crime. I live in America, like I said. I tell people, hey, go to St. Vincent. When I walk around white people, I walk on the law firm, doing filing, and the lady they ask me, white folks, where you from? I say St. Vincent. They say, what are you doing here? I say, well, I'm here for a little money and everything. One says St. Vincent is such a beautiful place, but that was in the 80s. It's such a beautiful place, and I'm encouraging them to go to St. Vincent so that they can spend the money to help to build our economy. But when you have situation like what's going on these days, this year over 40, I get 40 or 40 something people murder that is committed in St. Vincent, that is way too much for the island. Too much. So I hope that they can look into these situations, get database, have fingerprint placed there, where they gather at crime scene, and when they suspect of somebody and they pick them up, fingerprint them and see if they think forensic test. I told you one time I see a situation here in America where one strand of hair they catch the killer, one strand of hair, and they catch the killer as a result of that because of the DNA. So we there are things too that is available to us, and we need to utilize them, and so we can minimize the crime in our country. God bless you.
All right.
All
Thank you so
right.
much.
It would be very negligent of me if I don't make this comment also. We need to remember that the saying or phrase innocent until proven guilty is a real thing. There's a quote and then there's a quote of public opinion. I'm reading the comments here and a lot of people are saying, oh, this man is a murderer, this man. That has not been proven in court. And not
Nothing.
because someone is charged with something means that they're immediately guilty of something. No, as the callers have been saying this morning, if it is that you do believe or you know for a fact that this man committed these murders, then you should be assisting the police. You shouldn't be on Facebook.
But that's what I'm saying too. Some people, there are some folks who would say things based on what they're told from quote
Yes.
unquote credible sources. So even though I say I might know something, I can't take that information to the police because it's inconsequential. It's just I hear say. But the people who actually see and know firsthand, firsthand, are they willing to go and carry? And this is a general question too. Are they willing to go and carry that information to the police to try to crack down on some of these crimes? Now, as forensics is concerned, I was told by an officer, forensics is very expensive. It's very expensive. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons we don't have it because we can't afford it. Compared to, if you look at our figures, I think at the time, it was like 2 or 3 years ago, at the time, maybe we did not have substantial or enough murders or homicides to warrant the need for a forensics lab. But I was also told by a different person that it is possible for maybe the countries in the OACS to come together to form a collective, just like how during COVID-19 we had to send there was a lab for the region. We had to send our testings to CAFA and so on. There are several labs across the region we can send maybe fingerprints or blood, whatever it is we can send. Some things we could do here because they might be very simple. But in that as well, the WCS could come together to form a collective, like I said, and try to get some resolve to it. However, before you even get to that point, you have to amend the law. Because even now, with the resources that can be used, you have to amend the law. And there might be some instances where it's quote unquote luck and chance. Because if you ask a particular question, they could refuse to give certain information and give certain things like biometrics. You have to amend the law.
Oh,
So even if forensics is a possibility, their hands are still in a way tied behind their backs because the law does not reflect the need. Anyways,
we have a comment there. The community also has to feel safe in order to cooperate or assist the police. If I know information that can help, but it puts my life or my family's life in jeopardy, I'd want to keep it to myself. And the police always would put in their reports that you'll be treated with full confidentiality and you'll be protected. I think the concerns of most people is St. Vincent is a very small place. And when peace people commit crimes, it's a handful of people who would be able to assist the police. And if these people realize, listen, if it's not Christal, then it have to be Kiran. And they went for both of you. What's in place to protect you? It's very tricky. It's not like these countries that have millions of people. So if you have a police detail or if you have security, it won't raise any alarms. If you're aware that someone has police detail or security in St. Vincent, you're going to automatically assume that they testified. So I'm wondering now, what is the resolve? How can persons be encouraged to assist the police in their investigations without feeling like their lives are in danger?
invest in forensics. Invest in forensics. Now, the issue of the issue of safety is a real concern.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that thing called fear? No, the police, they have so many things that are in place to help to protect witnesses. You can testify via video, you can testify from overseas, you don't have to give your name. The folks don't have to know who you are, you can get protection, all these little things. But people are still fearful. And I think justifiably so. Because if every now and then you hear, oh, somebody got killed, and then you understand when you read the story, you understand a little bit more that that person was a witness in something, then you're gonna feel fearful. If the number of homicides keep going up and up and up and up and up, you're obviously going to feel
No.
you're obviously going to feel a little bit terrified in wanting to. So if every Monday morning you hear about somebody being arrested for possession of illegal firearm, and then you know the type of firearms that these people have and how easy it is. I mean, up to this God living day, we don't know anybody has been charged for the firearms that were found at the customs. No. If you hear stories like that and no resolution, you're obviously gonna feel scared. Whether or not in your case the police are the police can keep and will keep you safe, and in the end you will be safe. Criminals have so much power right now that even though that's a possibility that you could come out unharmed because they're qualified to do their job, you're just not going to want to do it.
And the other scary thing is, so Look Searchlight had launched a series of unsolved mysteries. I think it's only one episode so far, but I'm pretty sure they can have 4 seasons.
They could have a million
I
seasons.
am pretty sure. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I'm pretty sure. So persons are worried, persons are concerned, persons want to know, would I be safe? And we're having this discussion, and we're not saying that Charles is definitely guilty of these murders. We're just saying it. Yeah, we're just saying it raises a bigger question. How can someone be charged 4 times and beat the charge 4 times? Is it that persons are not cooperating, and we're getting answers as to why?
Commentator, good morning. This gives true meaning. If you see something, say something. I think in the education revolution, they should send detectives away to study more in solving crimes. Like the caller before said, database, fingerprints, and the like.
Yeah, but we need the investment. We need the infrastructure. We need the money.
It can't be taking people's fingerprints like that.
What do you mean?
The law has to be amended.
Oh, I don't know what's the law in place for that.
You cannot. And I can give reference to the case where the policeman and his brother were murdered in Sion Hill Bay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of the story that says one of the convicted individuals getting, I can't remember exactly what it was, whether it was blood or some sort of, maybe it was blood. The other individual refused to give it up, to give that up, whether it's fingerprint or something. I'd have to go back to it, all right? Because what I'm saying right now probably not making sense. But let's say, for example, it's a fingerprint. So one individual gave up that fingerprint when they were asked, and the other one refused to do it, and they couldn't do anything about it because he has a right to refuse.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Because the law says there's nothing in place.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That
So they
is
need to amend
very,
that.
very interesting. All right. Well, there's about the time we take a break, we pay some bills, and we hop back in for a bit of discussion before the top of the hour.
All right.